live in a small township where the local government seems to have lost touch with reality. About 6 months ago, they decided it was a good idea to allow kids into bars. Yeah, you heard that right. Not restaurant bars, mind you, but straight-up drinking establishments. As someone who owns 15% of a popular local bar, this put me in a tough spot. You see, our liquor license explicitly states no kids allowed. It's not just a rule we made up, it's a legal requirement. Violating it could cost us tens of thousands in fines and our right to serve alcohol. But the township didn't care about that. They were too busy pandering to a vocal group of entitled parents who apparently couldn't bear to be separated from their precious offspring for a few hours. We tried reasoning with the township. We explained the legal issues, the safety concerns, the whole 9 yards, but they wouldn't budge. It got so bad that we had to get the state involved. And let me tell you, that's not something you do lightly in a small town. After 2 months of back and forth, the state finally stepped in. They put the township manager in her place and repealed the ridiculous law allowing kids in bars. The entitled parents, led by their ringleader, let's call her Karen, didn't take kindly to being told no. They started a campaign of harassment against our bar. Broken windows, graffiti trying to make us look like a gang hangout. You name it, they did it. They even spray-painted Sons of Anarchy on our walls. I mean, come on, that's just a TV show. If they'd try that with a real biker bar, they'd be in for a world of hurt. Thankfully, we had state protection by this point. The county sheriff caught several township employees and these so-called concerned citizens in the act. You'd think that would be enough to make them back off, but no. Karen and her crew were just getting started. Last Friday, a state official came to town to investigate the situation further. That's when Karen decided to make her big move. Despite the fact that the township police were no longer under her control, she organized a protest outside our bar. I was inside with the other owners, going over the books and taking care of orders when we got a call from the county sheriff. He wanted to come by and collect our CCTV footage for the investigation. I agreed, and while I was pulling the tapes, I spotted Karen and her mob on the live feed. They were outside waving signs and chanting about how we were discriminating against parents. I asked the sheriff to come with me while I told him to leave. When we got outside, I told the group to get off our property and that they weren't welcome. The township manager responded angrily, demanding that we start allowing children in the bar again, insisting that she never repealed her law. I explained that the state had overturned her decision and told them to leave before I called the police. The township manager threatened to sue us if we did. I gave them a final warning to leave the property, but before I could finish my sentence, things took a dangerous turn. That's when things went sideways. One of the protesters pulled out a taser and shot me in the chest. My heart did something weird, and I passed out right there on the spot. I woke up in the hospital later. The sheriff told me that most of the mob had scattered, including the township manager, but they'd caught the person who tased me. They're in jail now, and there's a warrant out for the manager's arrest. The doctors kept me overnight for observation. They're worried about potential heart damage from the taser. I've got an appointment with a cardiologist tomorrow to run some tests. All this fuss because some entitled parents couldn't stand the idea of a space where adults could enjoy a drink without kids around. It's not like we're the only business in town. There are plenty of family-friendly restaurants and cafes. But no, they had to target us. The next day, I met with my lawyer to discuss getting restraining orders, not just for me, but for the bar, the other managers, and all our employees. Given how spread out we are, if we get those orders, we could effectively make half the town off-limits to Karen and her crew. The cardiologist's news wasn't great, but it could have been worse. My heart rhythm is a bit off, so I'm wearing a portable monitor for now. We're hoping it's temporary and my heart will sort itself out, but only time will tell. All this drama, all this danger, over something so simple as wanting to run a bar for adults. I never signed up to be on the front lines of a culture war, but here I am. Our regular customers, especially the local vets, have been incredibly supportive though. Business is actually up, despite or maybe because of all the drama, and the state is finally paying attention to the corruption in our local government. So yeah, that's my story. A simple bar owner caught in the crossfire of entitled parents and small-town politics. As a freshman, I was thrilled to be selected for an honors program at my state university. The program came with perks, including a spot in a co-ed dorm building exclusively for honors students. Little did I know that this perk would lead to one of the most stressful experiences of my college life. Within the first few weeks, I started dating a girl who lived right above me. Let's call her Karen. It seemed convenient at first. We were in the same program, lived in the same building, and could easily hang out. But as they say, convenience comes at a cost. Karen was intense. She described herself as fairly aggressive, which should have been a red flag, but I was too naive to see it. She talked constantly, mostly about herself, and it didn't take long for the other students in our building to start avoiding her. but I stuck around thinking maybe she just needed someone to understand her. Everything changed right after Thanksgiving break. I was leaving an evening class when my mom called, asking about some unusual activity on my checking account. I only had a debit card linked to my savings, and I rarely used it since we had unlimited meal plans. So when my mom mentioned several charges from a food delivery app, I was confused and concerned. I decided to ask Karen about it, thinking maybe she had used my card by mistake. When I asked her if she had used my card for any food deliveries recently, she denied it immediately. She seemed surprised by my question and asked why I would think that. I explained about the weird charges on my account, suggesting that maybe she had grabbed my card by accident. Karen brushed off my concerns, advising me to just cancel the card if I was worried. She insisted it was probably someone else. I followed her advice and canceled my card. But something didn't feel right, so I reached out to the food delivery app's customer service. They sent me receipts for the orders, and despite their attempt to hide the customer's information, I could clearly see Karen's name. I confronted her again, this time with evidence. I told her I had gotten the receipts from the app and that her name was on them. I asked her directly if she had really used my card without asking. Karen's response was explosive. She yelled at me, accusing me of suspecting her and using some choice words in the process. Her reaction was all the confirmation I needed. That night, she showed up at my door in tears, confessing to using my card and admitting she was a shoplifter. I was too exhausted to deal with it and told her we'd talk in the morning. The next day, I broke up with her via text. I figured losing $104.29 was a small price to pay to be rid of her. But Karen wasn't done yet. 2 days later, she barged into my room while I was studying. She demanded I give her stuff, yelling about where it was. When I asked what stuff she was talking about, she just screamed that I knew what she meant. She ransacked my room looking for something she wouldn't name, then left as abruptly as she'd arrived. I locked the door, but within minutes, she was back, pounding and screaming. She yelled that she knew I was in there and demanded I open the door. She started throwing herself against the door, trying to break it down. I could hear the wood cracking. Panicked, I called for help from the resident assistants. When they finally arrived and calmed her down, Karen revealed she was looking for a t-shirt and keychain she'd given me for my birthday. I gladly handed them over, wanting nothing more to do with her. The resident life staff filed a no-contact order between us and advised me to report the theft to campus police. The police suggested small claims court for the stolen money, but that wasn't feasible for a broke college student. Things escalated when I reported the incident to the university's Title IX office. They brought 3 misconduct charges against Karen: theft, threatening behavior, and inciting university staff intervention. They asked me to be a witness at her disciplinary hearing scheduled for, get this, Valentine's Day. In the months leading up to the hearing, I learned more about Karen's behavior. She'd failed all her classes, tried to cheat on me with another student, and was spreading lies about me to anyone who would listen. The day of the hearing arrived and I was nervous but determined to tell the truth. I showed up alone while Karen brought her parents and a lawyer. The disciplinary board, composed of grad students, assigned me a student representative, a junior economics major. When it was my turn to present evidence, I revealed something I'd kept secret, a video of Karen trying to break down my door. The room erupted in chaos. Karen's parents were shocked, demanding to know why she hadn't told them about this incident. Her lawyer protested loudly, claiming that this evidence hadn't been provided in pre-trial disclosure. A board member had to remind the lawyer that this wasn't a court of law and ask him to return to his seat. The lawyer continued to object, leading the board member to reiterate that they don't have objections in this type of hearing. The board eventually found Karen responsible for all 3 charges. They forced her to pay back most of the stolen money and move to a different dorm building. Her parents, having paid for her tuition, unused meal plan, lawyer fees, and restitution, finally pulled her out of school. I later heard that Karen returned as a part-time student, but I never saw her again thanks to the ongoing no-contact order. So, a bit about me. I've been working at this meditation and holistic wellness store for about 3 years now. It's a small place, but we've got a loyal clientele who come for everything from essential oils to yoga mats. I started here right after college, looking for a job that aligned with my values of mindfulness and wellness. At first, it was just a way to pay the bills, but I quickly fell in love with the atmosphere and the positive impact we have on people's lives. Now our store is in this quaint little strip mall. It's got a great vibe, but there's one major downside: parking. Our lot is tiny and we share it with a bunch of other businesses. To keep things fair, we've all got designated spots marked with our store names. It's not perfect, but it works. Most of the time. This one morning started like any other. I got into work early, set up the displays, and was just about to open when I noticed this fancy sports car pull into one of our spots. I figured the driver would come into our store or one of the neighboring businesses, but nope. This guy just gets out and starts walking away. I thought, Maybe he's just running to the ATM or something. But after a few minutes, it was clear he had no intention of coming back anytime soon. Now, I'm usually a pretty chill person, but this really got under my skin. We'd had issues with people abusing our parking before, and it always ended up hurting our business. So I decided to go out and have a chat with him. I caught up to him just as he was about to cross the street. I politely explained that he had parked in one of our store's designated spots and asked if he could move his car if he wasn't planning to visit any of the businesses. I mentioned that there was plenty of other parking available in the area. I tried to keep my tone friendly and professional, but this guy, oh man, he didn't even bother to turn around. He just stuck his middle finger up in the air and kept walking. I called out to him again, this time more seriously. I warned him that if he walked away, I have no choice but to have his car towed. The guy finally turned around, but only to flip me off with both hands this time. He sarcastically told me to go ahead and tow his car, and then he just left. I stood there for a moment completely stunned. I mean, who does that? But then I thought, you know what? He asked for it. I went back to the store, called our local towing company, and within 20 minutes, that shiny sports car was on its way to the impound lot. I felt a little bad, but hey, I'd warned him. About an hour later, I'm helping a customer pick out some aromatherapy candles when I hear this commotion outside. I excused myself and went to check it out. And there he was, Mr. Entitled himself, looking around the parking lot like a lost puppy. When he spotted me, his face turned redder than our sale signs. He angrily demanded to know where his car was. I told him that his car had been towed, just as I had warned him it would be. He exploded, asking why I would do such a thing. His language was quite colorful, to say the least. I reminded him that he had given me permission to tow his car when I warned him earlier. I also pointed out that it was bad karma to steal someone else's parking space, especially at a meditation store. It was like he couldn't decide whether to yell more or just implode on the spot. He started making ridiculous demands, insisting that I bring his car back immediately. I explained that I couldn't do that, but offered him the card for the towing company, assuring him they would be able to help. I handed him the card with my best customer service smile and wished him a nice day. When I turned to go back inside, I could hear him sputtering and cursing behind me. But you know what? I didn't feel bad at all. Sometimes people need a little wake-up call to realize the world doesn't revolve around them. And as I was locking up that evening, I saw him trudging back to the lot, looking absolutely defeated. Seems like retrieving his car had been quite the ordeal. He caught my eye as he passed, and I couldn't resist one last jab. I cheerfully wished him a lovely day and suggested he meditate on the fact that every action has a consequence. The glare he gave me could have melted steel, but I just waved cheerily and went on my way. When I saw an ad for a new tech company looking for fresh talent, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to kickstart my career. The company was developing some kind of revolutionary AI software. At least that's what they claimed. From day one, things felt off. The CEO was always talking about his grand vision and how we were going to change the world. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. We were understaffed, overworked, and the product was nowhere near ready. Still, I tried to stay positive. My co-workers were great, and we bonded over our shared struggles. We'd take short breaks together, grabbing coffee or chatting by the water cooler to keep our sanity. Little did we know those small moments of respite were about to become a huge problem. One Monday morning, we all got an email from the CEO. I'll never forget how my stomach dropped as I read it. The CEO announced a new policy in the email. He said that he noticed productivity was suffering because of too many breaks. He told us that from now on, there would be a $50 fine for every bathroom break, coffee refill, or water cooler chat. He said this policy couldn't be changed and told us to get back to changing the world. At first, we thought it was a joke. But when we saw security guards stationed near the bathrooms and break areas, reality set in. People were furious, but also scared. Many of us were living paycheck to paycheck and couldn't afford those ridiculous fines. I decided to speak up. I gathered a group of co-workers, and we went to the CEO's office. I told the CEO that we needed to talk about the new policy. I said it was completely unreasonable and probably illegal. The CEO responded angrily, saying he was trying to run a business. He asked if we thought big companies like Facebook or Google got where they are by letting their employees slack off. One of my co-workers spoke up, saying the policy was inhumane because people need to use the restroom and stay hydrated. The CEO yelled at us to do those things on our own time, and he said he wasn't paying us to pee or gossip and told us to get back to work before he started giving out fines. We left his office in shock. That's when we knew we had to take action. Word spread quickly, and by lunchtime, almost everyone had agreed to go on strike. We made signs, sent out press releases, and prepared to walk out. The next day, we gathered outside the building, chanting and holding our signs. Local news crews showed up, and we thought for sure the CEO would have to back down. Instead, he came out looking smug. He announced that we were all fired and threatened to sue each of us for breach of contract. We were stunned. How could he fire all of us? Who was going to do the work? But he was dead serious. Security started escorting people off the premises, and within an hour the building was empty except for the CEO and a few loyal executives. Things got really weird after that. The company obviously couldn't function without employees, and within a month, it had completely folded. But instead of admitting defeat, the CEO went on a media rampage, blaming us for the company's failure. In a local news interview, he called us entitled millennials who ruined his dream. He accused us of not being able to handle hard work and destroying a company that was going to change the industry. He even demanded that we pay back every cent of our salaries. It was absurd, but he actually tried to sue us again. Fortunately, a group of lawyers heard about our story and offered to represent us pro bono. They were eager to take on such a clear case of worker exploitation. The lawsuit was thrown out almost immediately, and the judge had some strong words for our former CEO. The judge called it one of the most ridiculous and outrageous cases he'd ever seen. He said the CEO's claims had no basis and that his treatment of former employees was terrible and probably against the law. The judge said he would recommend a full investigation into the CEO's business practices. It turned out that was just the beginning of his troubles. The investigation uncovered all sorts of shady dealings, from embezzlement to fraud. In the end, our former CEO was the one facing hefty fines and potential jail time. Sometimes I look back on that crazy experience and can hardly believe it happened. But hey, at least I'll always have a wild story to tell at parties.